It was a warm evening, the kind where the air felt thick with secrets. I had just finished washing my sandals and left them to dry by the door, a routine as ordinary as the setting sun. But that night, as the moon began to rise, something felt different. The usual sounds of the night, chirping crickets and rustling leaves, were replaced with an unsettling silence. I stepped outside, drawn by a strange sensation. And there, by my sandals, stood 3 people. Their faces were hidden beneath dark hoods, but their murmurs reached my ears, a language foreign to my understanding. They circled my sandals, and I could see from the way they moved that this wasn't just a passing ritual, it was something far deeper, darker. I was about to witness something I was never meant to see. I could barely breathe as I crouched low by the door, my heart pounding in my chest. The figures didn't seem to notice me at first. The moonlight made their cloaks shimmer as they stood in a tight circle, their hands raised toward the sky. The air around them seemed to pulse, vibrating with power. I couldn't take my eyes off them. My sandals, now sitting in the center, seemed to glow faintly, as if something supernatural was radiating from them. The chant grew louder, their voices blending into a low hum that made the hairs on my neck stand up. It was as though the ground itself was responding, shifting underfoot. I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were glued to the ground. Every instinct told me to run, to hide, but I was frozen in place, compelled to watch. I had heard whispers about strange rituals in the village before, but this was something else. The words they spoke were unlike anything I had ever heard. The language was ancient, and it seemed to resonate with something deep inside me, something I didn't understand. One of the figures stepped forward, and my breath caught. It was as if they knew I was there, hiding in the shadows. Watching them, the figure raised one hand and motioned toward my sandals. Without a word, the sandals lifted off the ground, floating for a brief moment in midair. I gasped, and a wave of dizziness hit me. This was beyond anything I had ever imagined. The sandals seemed to be glowing brighter now, pulsing in time with the chant. My body trembled as I felt a strange connection to them, as if they were calling to me, beckoning me to step closer. But I knew better than to approach. Something told me that stepping forward would mean crossing a line that could never be undone. As the chant continued, the air around the figures grew thicker, charged with a strange energy. The ground beneath me seemed to tremble slightly. I dared not blink, afraid I might miss something crucial. The figure who had motioned toward my sandals spoke, his voice low but clear. It was as if he was speaking directly to me, even though I wasn't part of the ritual. "You should not have left them there," he murmured. His words sent a chill down my spine. How did he know it was my sandals? How did they know I was watching? The realization hit me like a slap in the face. I was not merely witnessing a ritual. I was somehow connected to it. I stepped back, my feet barely making a sound on the dirt floor, but the figures seemed to sense my movement. They paused, their heads turning toward me in unison, their eyes glowing faintly beneath their hoods. My heart skipped a beat, and I froze, terrified that they could see me despite the darkness. The air around me felt electric, as if the very atmosphere had been altered. I held my breath, praying that I wouldn't be discovered. But it was too late. The figure at the center of the circle lifted his hand, pointing directly at me. "You have seen too much," he said, his voice sharp as a knife. "You should have never crossed the line." A wave of cold swept over me, and I stumbled backward, my eyes locked onto the figure. His words hung in the air, heavy and full of warning. My sandals dropped back to the ground, but the chant didn't stop. The energy around me seemed to surge, pulling at my very soul. I wanted to run, to get as far away as possible, but my body wouldn't obey. I was rooted to the spot, trapped in a moment that felt both unreal and inevitable. The figures resumed their chanting, this time more fervent, as if my presence had somehow intensified their ritual. I could feel the earth beneath me vibrating, responding to their call. The figure who had spoken took a step forward. He raised his arms, and the air around us began to hum with power. "You have been marked," he declared. "The ritual has begun, and it cannot be undone." His words sent a shock through my body, and a wave of nausea hit me. I tried to back away, but it was as if the ground itself was holding me in place. The chanting grew louder, and the moonlight above seemed to grow brighter, illuminating everything around me in a surreal, ghostly glow. I had no idea what I had walked into, but it was clear now that I was in the middle of something ancient, something dangerous. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to block out the noise, the fear, the strange energy that seemed to be swirling around me. But when I opened them again, everything had changed. The figures were no longer standing in the circle, they were now moving in a coordinated dance, their arms raised high as they swirled around my sandals. The ground beneath them seemed to ripple, and the air thickened with a strange mist that I couldn't see through. I felt a pressure on my chest, like something was pushing me down, forcing me to kneel. My body screamed to escape, but I could. Words hit me harder than any physical blow could. I didn't understand. What did he mean? What had I witnessed? The chant was no longer a chant, it had turned into a powerful, almost hypnotic song, drawing me in, pulling me closer to the circle. I felt the urge to step forward, but every part of me screamed to stay away. I tried to break free from the pull, but my legs refused to move. It was as though invisible hands were gripping my limbs, holding me in place. I looked down at my sandals, now glowing with a soft, golden light. The energy coming from them was so strong, it was almost tangible. The figures continued their dance, their movements growing faster, more urgent. It was clear now that they weren't just performing a ritual, they were summoning something. Something powerful. Something ancient. And I had no idea how I had become a part of it, the mist thickened, obscuring everything around me. I could barely see the figures now, their shapes distorted in the fog. My heart raced as I felt the ground beneath me begin to shift. Was the earth opening up beneath my feet? Was I about to be swallowed by the darkness? I tried to call out, but my voice wouldn't come. The only sound was the chanting, louder now, vibrating through my bones. The figure who had spoken earlier appeared in front of me, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "You will follow the path we have set for you," he said, his voice echoing in my mind. "There is no turning back now." The mist swirled around us, growing thicker with each passing moment. My breath caught in my throat as I felt a presence moving through the fog, something darker, more menacing than the figures themselves. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. It was getting closer. The air felt charged with electricity, and the ground beneath my feet seemed to tremble with each step. I knew something was about to happen, something I wasn't ready for. The figure raised his hands, and the chanting grew louder, faster. The mist parted slightly, and I caught a glimpse of what was waiting just beyond the circle. It was a shadow, tall and dark, with eyes that gleamed like fire. I was about to scream, but the figure raised his hand, silencing me. "It is here," he said, his voice filled with both fear and awe. "The one we have summoned. The one who will bring forth the change." I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. All I could do was watch as the shadow took shape, growing larger, taller. It was coming toward me, its form shifting with every step it took. I felt my body go cold as it reached out, its hands extending toward me. It was no longer just a shadow. It was real. The shadow stopped just in front of me, its eyes glowing with a fierce, unnatural light. I could feel its presence like a weight pressing down on my chest. I wanted to look away, to run, but I couldn't move. I was frozen in place, my body unwilling to obey my mind. The figure who had spoken earlier stepped forward, his face pale with fear. "You are the one chosen," he said, his voice shaking.